Hi, everyone. My name is Adrienne. I'm part of the community team, and I'm here with Carl Jones. Carl Jones is going to present on the topic building greener software. He will take questions in the end, so feel free to leave any of your questions, and Carl can take it at the end of his presentation. Go ahead, Carl. Floor is all yours.
Okay. Hi, everybody. As Adrian said, my name is Kyle. I'm a software engineer at a company called Nontech, and I'm talking today on how to build greener software. So I first started looking at this presentation after I became vegan around 2 years ago. It kind of prompted me to become a bit more passionate about the environment and sustainability, and it seemed relevant with COP26 happening this week. So a little bit about Nontech before I start. Nontech are a consultancy working in the UK in the public sector, and we're helping public sector organisations to modernise, accelerate, drive, and enable them to build better software. So before we can start have a look at how we can make our software a bit greener, we need to first understand what sort of environmental impact we're having. So first of all, we're going to have a look at the resources we're already using when we design services, engineer components, deploy them to a particular platform, and then host them in the long term. So all these are actions that we take day to day. So the first one you probably expected is electricity. Data centers around the world use between 1% and 3% of all electricity. To put that into a bit more context, it uses around about 416 terawatt hours in 2015, and in that same year, the UK on the whole ran on only 300 terawatt hours. The main problem with this is the majority of this energy is not generated through renewable technologies. Only 7% of the UK's total energy generation in 2020 was produced through renewables. And even including biomass and nuclear in those numbers only brought it up to 60%. That was classed as a record-breaking year, and it still meant that over 181 grams of CO2 was produced per kilowatt hour. So putting that to a bit more perspective, in order to generate the amount of electricity required, we'd need around about 146 million solar panels or 69,000 wind turbines in order to generate the electricity required. An average solar panel in England generates between around 3,000 kilowatt hours per year, and that's only in ideal conditions. Same with wind turbines, but they generate around about 6 gigawatt hours per year. Putting that into perspective for numbers as well, the Habitat for Humanity estimate that around 1 billion people, or 13%, still have no access to electricity at all. The other resource we use quite a lot of is water. Water is generally used as a coolant for hardware in data centers, either directly or to reduce the temperature of the air, which is then used to reduce the temperature of the servers. So a single data center uses around 1.5 million gallons of water, and all the US data centers used around about 626 billion gallons of water in 2014. So to put that into perspective, a gallon of water is around about 16 glasses, and the average household uses around about 80 gallons of water in a single day. Using those numbers, a medium-sized data center would use the same as about 3 hospitals or 8 households in total. This is all while a large portion of the world still has no access to clean running water. So now that we have a better idea of the resources we're already using, it's time to take a look at how engineers can build greener software services. So I'm going to split these into 2 categories: fairly high-level technical improvements and some non-technical actions for other teams. So the first action we can take is to migrate to cloud-hosted infrastructure. Cloud-hosted infrastructure uses around 65% of its utilization, whereas traditional on-premises solutions still only use around about 12 to 18%. By 2020, it's estimated that 33% of enterprise infrastructure will be still hosted on-premises solutions. It's also estimated that using these numbers, cloud customers would consume 77% fewer servers, and it would help reduce their carbon footprint by around about 88%. Not all cloud providers are equal, though, and as with any decision, there are additional factors as well as green credentials that could influence your decisions. But there are a bunch of questions we can ask before diving in with one of these. So some questions we can ask are, is the provider investing in clean energy? Is the provider offsetting their carbon footprint? Does the provider provide carbon footprint metrics? And is the provider researching new ways to reduce their impact even further? So I have looked at some of the answers for these. Out of the three main providers, AWS, Microsoft, and Google, all of them publicly state they offset their carbon footprints. Google is the only one to publish carbon footprint metrics for each data center, which is updated multiple times a day and is available on a web page online. So this can be constantly accessed. Microsoft allows their carbon metrics to be extracted from Azure using a Power BI extension. And AWS publish their metrics in company statements and other formal positions like that. When it comes to researching new ways to reduce their impact, AWS and Microsoft are both researching new measures to reduce their resource usage. AWS are looking at using reclaimed water for their coolants, whereas Azure are pioneering liquid immersion cooling in their data centers. Another way we can reduce our impact is by adopting a serverless architecture. So by a serverless architecture, I mean using managed infrastructure with a pay-as-you-go pricing, mostly shared hardware that has a high scalability and elasticity. The well-architected framework is also quite useful when it comes to cloud host infrastructure. These are a set of best practices for the design, delivery, and maintenance of cloud architectures. There are 5 key pillars, including security, reliability, performance efficiency, operational excellence, and cost optimization. Using these allows you to reduce your energy usage, preventing idling and other wasteful processes, or by improving efficiency overall. It also helps to improve the visibility of the impact you're already having. A lot of us as software engineers don't think about the impact we have on the natural world when we develop in software. So there are a number of tools and metrics and things that can help with raising this awareness. So the Green Web Foundation kind of works by querying a URL and comparing it against a list of green host providers. WholeGate Digital does a similar sort of thing, but it just checks the efficiency of the website overall. So that includes things like data transfer over the wire, the energy intensity, the website traffic, and a number of other things like that. You can also use this open source package called Code Carbon. So Code Carbon works kind of like a stopwatch or a timer. You simply put it around a piece of code you want to check, and it'll output a file at the end with everything from the location that it's running, the energy usage of that piece of code, and even the emissions from that location based on how much energy you've used and the carbon intensity of the energy mix. There's a couple of tools at the bottom here as well for the cloud providers. Each of these are the ones I mentioned earlier. Each of them are kind of saying about how some of the energy, data centers are more renewable than others, and it's just kind of raising awareness of that. Paul Johnston's Sustainability Console marks the regions in AWS that are running on 100% renewable energy, and it marks them in a green color on the UI. So now that we've gone through some of the technical things, I'll go through some of the things that non-technical teams can do to help. So when I talk about non-technical teams, this is anything from finance teams, HR, marketing teams. Each of these has their own processes that all contribute to the overall footprint of a company. So the first set of things I'm going to look at are providing documents and processes. So here I've listed a bunch of monitoring and assessments, policies and certifications that companies can look at. The EcoVadis monitoring is quite comprehensive and it's used by over 75,000 companies in over 160 countries. It's a ratings platform that provides social responsibility assessments for which focus on sustainability methods. A lot of these also kind of lead into each other. For example, the monitoring and assessments and the policies are quite often required by the different certifications in order to get that kind of level and standard. You can also empower climate-friendly choices. So there are a bunch of employment benefits that can help with the environment, including choosing an ethical pension fund, climate-friendly travel, choosing plant-based food and drink options, and providing more recycling bins in offices. So in 2019, the OECD estimated that around $50 trillion was invested through pensions. In the same year, Morgan Stanley estimated that the amount of money required to finance meeting the Paris agreements was also $50 trillion. So it's quite staggering when you take into account that the two numbers are the same. But unfortunately, the majority of that money is currently being invested in environmentally damaging industries like coal and oil and gas. Choosing more environmentally friendly travel choices. Taking a train or bike can reduce your carbon footprint by around 75%. And it also comes with the added benefit of improving your health and fitness, which means that less sick days are taken by your staff. On the diet front, this isn't known by quite a lot of people, but it is getting a bit more recognition now. The average diet takes around 2.5 to 3.5 tons of CO2 per day in order to fuel yourself. Switching to a plant-based diet, however, means that that's reduced to just 1.5 tons. So even just implementing things like Meatless Mondays or taking part in veganuary events has quite an impact when you're taking to the size of a company. When it comes to recycling bins, some things I've seen that have apparently worked in other places is having signs or messaging around the bin areas. Kind of gives people that couple of seconds to think about what they're doing before they put it in a normal bin rather than a recycling bin. And apparently reducing the size and number of waste bins around the office does promote the people to recycle more and to think about what they're throwing away. So the other slides I've put in this presentation have all been focused on reducing. For this slide, I'll look at reusing things where possible. So removing single-use items from the office spaces, providing resource sharing or trading channels, and purchasing supplies from sustainable sources. So the first one of these is kind of self-explanatory. A lot of items like straws and cutlery, and when it comes to plastic and things, are quite often thrown away after a single use. So just getting rid of these and replacing them with more permanent solutions does have quite a positive impact. Resource sharing and trading. This kind of came about from my local area has a resource sharing chat WhatsApp group where if anybody's getting rid of something, they'll post whether somebody else wants it first before it goes to something like landfill or recycling. So things you could do for this would be like Slack channels where you can just offer up learning resources like books or something to other people in the companies. Or if you're located fairly close to each other, that could be anything from your personal life as well, including furniture and things like that. It does also foster a bit more of a sense of community in the area as well. You can also choose more sustainable suppliers. So on the B Corp website, there's a whole directory of companies that provide everything from more environmentally friendly drinks to companies that are using what's classed as wonky fruit and things for juices, and paper and birthday cards, things like that. So it's worth having a look at these sort of sites as well. So some key takeaways from the slides. 1 to 3% of all electricity is used by data centers globally, and over 600 billion gallons of water are used by data centers annually across the US. That's the impact we're currently having. For the solutions to this, the main ones that I put down are migrating to the cloud reduces your carbon footprint by up to 88%, choosing serverless and best practices meaning less waste overall, and increasing the visibility of a carbon footprint helps to promote more environmentally friendly choices. So you can use things like code carbon or the other methods I've mentioned for that. And that's all from me. So if there are any questions.
Thank you, Carl. I don't see any questions or any comments. So yeah, I think that is it. Let's give people a couple of seconds to type in a question if they have. No, I don't think there will be any questions. I think your presentation was very clear. So, oh, there's a question coming.
So how do you build greener software? So like I was saying, things like raising the efficiency and things of the actual software does make it a bit greener, because obviously making it greener is mostly about reducing your waste, and how software is quite efficient as it is anyway, because it's running on electricity, which as we move to a greener energy mix, then obviously that will have a lot of benefits in itself. But what we can do is reduce what we are using. So the things like improving the visibility of your energy usage and things like that, it's quite useful just to know how performant your software is and everything. Which tech stack do you work with, and how do you make that greener? So at Maytech, we work as a consultancy to public sector organizations, so the tech stack changes quite a lot. But a lot of the companies we're going into are looking to move their legacy software away from the kind of traditional monolith sort of systems running on on-premises servers, and they're looking to move to things like your AWS's, your Google Cloud, your Azure's. So a lot of that kind of side of things in work with me at the moment. On Maytech themselves, because we're a consultancy, we don't really have much of our own software. So a lot of the stuff we're kind of focusing on is either promoting it in other companies or looking at the non-technical side of things, like improving the benefits we're offering, making things like we run a Friday lunches where a couple of the people get together and get lunch paid for by the company. So we're looking at promoting plant-based options and things in that kind of thing. Yeah, I completely agree with you. You can't just move to say move to green electricity, which is why I'm looking at things like this presentation, raising the visibility of it and everything. Okay, I think that's all the questions then.
Yeah, I think so too. Thank you, Roberta, for asking these questions, and thank you, Carl, for presenting. Oh, I see Roberta asking one more question.
Okay, so naturally some benefit to be expected from moving from local service to the cloud, but once everyone is in the cloud, then what? Problem solved? No, I that's what I said. I don't think just moving to the cloud is the solution. That's why I've put in things like moving to serverless choices, improving the efficiency of the software itself, just general performance improvements. They can bring that electricity usage down. And at the end of the day, the more we can get that software running faster and then scaling down means that we're using less electricity overall, and then that means that our impact has been reduced.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Carl, for your presentation and for your time today. Yeah, wishing everyone a great rest of your day and hope to see you during our next meetup.
Okay, thank you for having me.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, bye.